Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Welcome to It Takes Two with myself, Bilal Ali Hugh, and my co-host, Sister Ruby Sawa.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. And this week we're joined by Sheikh Ahmed Hanif.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I am so into jumping into this letter straight away because this one's going to take so much time. Quite a complex letter. Let us make the best use of time. It reads, Dear It Takes Two, my wedding day was the saddest day of my life. I am married to someone who I don't love. He is not a bad person, but he's more like somebody I know rather than the husband I want. I feel as though because I am an older girl in my late 20s and of mixed background, I had no other choice. My dad really wanted this, and my mum, she told me that it was the thing to do as I was getting older and that I'm too independent. I did this to make everyone happy and I am suffering in silence. I can't leave as people won't understand and will think that I am being silly. I can't stand the man and I'm on birth control, hoping he will think that I can't have children and want to divorce me. At least I'll be free. It is from an anonymous viewer in London. This one is deep. Sheikh, people, sisters in particular, who end up in marriages that they really didn't want to be in, is this still a common problem?
Yes, it is. Right. I think there are a couple of things here. One of them is that it shows the sort of cultural background where that she's coming from. Okay? That cultural background is this, that if you don't get married by a certain age, your shelf life is over and you would never get another spouse. Okay? This is that idea that's out there, you know. And so the parents feel desperate about this daughter of mine who's getting older, right, and she can't find somebody, okay? So basically, you take the first opportunity that presents itself. All right?
There's pressure on her,
Yes.
pressure on her.
But it neglects her needs. It neglects what she wants in a man. All right? And this is where she's suffering. Because what she wants in a man, right, is not what this particular person has to offer. You know? And basically she married this person for all the other reasons except for her own happiness. And now she is in the relationship. She is in prison. She is suffering. And so she is trying to create a situation for this man to divorce her, which is to feign her incapability of bearing children. The flip side, for example, of a man in a situation like that who doesn't want that woman or a woman, right, is that he treats her really, really badly, okay, for her to want a divorce.
Yeah.
Okay? But some women can't do that. What they will do is, for example, for a lot of these men, the important thing is their childbearing capability. Okay, so she's trying to create that situation for the man to call for. This is very, very sad.
Very
I
sad.
think what women about that age in their late 20s looking at this program should learn from this is that, you know, when you're getting married, remember that marriage is for forever. Marriage is, you're married for, is a person you're going to live with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to be very clear to yourself, you know, about that person. Is that person going to be the person for me for the rest of my life?
I think, you know, sometimes we give the parents a hard time too. I think, especially in this day and age, no matter what culture you're in, there is the reality that males can marry at a later age. They can be 40 and marry someone who's 18, 16, 20,
18 again.
whatever. They have time, whereas with women, you don't. And sometimes as parents, you panic because you're seeing people in your community who are younger than your children getting married or paired off or have found love or whatever you want to call it. So you start panicking and you're actually thinking about the security of your child. You're not always thinking about, oh, I want to have this big community party and, you know, I want to be like everybody else. You're actually thinking, well, I don't want my daughter to feel left out. And this is a phenomena that we're seeing a lot. You'll be at a wedding party and at least 15 of the girls who are highly educated, you know, good families, beautiful, very religious, they're not married. And you're thinking to yourself, what's going on? And they're like, well, it's easier for men to be precise and I want a 6'2" blonde hijabi.
Is it a male market, you're saying?
I have to say it is a male market. People aren't going to like that, but that's a reality. It's not only in the Muslim community. I hear it from Christian people, atheist people. No matter how many dates they're on, as soon as they say I want a relationship, the guy's gone. Because there's other people that he can find, and 2 weeks later he's asked somebody else to marry them. It's a male market, unfortunately, and he puts so much pressure. And then a lot of the time is the child, you want to see your parents happy. You trust your parents in thinking they want the best for me. Maybe if I don't go along with them, that is my last chance. What if they're not happy? And there are some parents that put so much pressure on their children just emotionally. Like I know somebody who didn't talk to her daughter for 4 months because she didn't marry the person that she wanted, you know, that she thought her daughter should be with. So it really is a troubling time.
This is a warning, though. This letter is a warning to you know, young sisters in particular who aren't married, or who, you know, to be aware that this is haste or going in a certain direction can, you know, lead to a situation like this.
Because we're saying don't rush into things, but at the same time there is pressure because everybody else is being heard.
I want to ask a question. Where's this pressure coming from? What I mean is that, because we spoke about in previous episodes that for example, the traditional way of getting married is changing, and people, young sisters, for example, are meeting people on their own terms in a halal way and finding their own mates. It's not necessarily from parents or from being introduced by an elder. So that's an evolution or a change in the West. And I'm wondering, how comes attitudes towards sisters who aren't married that are older in the West are not changed, you know, loosening a little bit? And why Muslims got this hardcore thing about, you know, older, you know, the shelf life. She's 30, she hasn't been married. I mean, maybe there's something wrong. So
I think it's changing.
Is it loosening?
I think it's loosening, but I mean that traditional, you know, force is still there.
It's alive and well.
It's still alive and well, but I think it's loosening.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it was that. I think this is something alien to Islam, actually. Right? Because if you look at the time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, you had you know, women who were above 30 were not seen as on a shelf. You know what I mean? They were the people married them.
Yeah.
You know, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself showed that particular tendency because some of his wives were older women.
Yes.
For example.
Yes.
You know, I think it is. I mean, you know, look, in Islam, it is encouraged to marry virgins, for example. Okay, it is encouraged for you to marry young, but it does not mean that you're discouraged from marrying older people. It does not mean that. Yeah. Okay, and it does not mean that you're discouraged from marrying people who are not virgins. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, and this is, I think, that kind of result that people get from that.
They read into it wrong.
They read the wrong conclusions. Yes, absolutely.
To answer your question, I think the pressure's from everywhere. It's not only from the family, but it's from the people around you. It's about going to so many weddings, and every year people are still asking you, are you still not married? It's from, you know, academically trying to position yourself to go to the best uni, to have the best
qualifications.
Then you have brothers to tell you, well, you're too qualified. I've heard parents say, well, could you like slow it down? You don't need to go for your master's or PhD, because how many males are there who have masters or PhD? So the pressure's from everywhere in this day and age to be a woman, and God forbid if you should be a divorced woman, or if you should be a widowed, or never married. I mean, there's always, it's like, the way I say it's like university. When you graduate this year, you're expected to find a job, because when the new graduates come, they're now competing for the same job. Yeah. So the pressure's from everywhere, and I think what we've seen in the community, it's not one size fits all. One way of doing things hasn't worked. So before, if you were looking at arranged marriages, well, we've now just seen, actually there's problems with that. When you look at online, well, there's problems with that. When you look at trying to go independently, there's problems with that. Too. Yep. So sometimes people, you get so fed up, and I've seen these girls get so fed up, they're just so glad to announce that there's a wedding going on, that they're like, whatever. And then when they're in it and you have to live the life and the party's over and the guests have gone, you're like, oh God, we've got 60 years together. So you either live separate lives, but in a household, or just be miserable. And it's really, really sad. I'm wondering, did she say that the brother's a nice guy? But she
said he's a nice guy, but he's like somebody that she knows. There's no spark there. He's a nice enough fella, but there's no connection. He doesn't,
So I'm wondering what the sheikh would suggest then. Would it be fair to
How does she proceed?
Is it fair to continue in a relationship where you just don't see the person like that? He might as well be your brother or an acquaintance, or now you've got the mergings of families. How's it going to look?
It's complex, because it's different from saying I fancy him a bit, but however he's too tall, or he's too so there's some potential attraction, but there is a bit of a sticking point. You got something to work with, but she doesn't sound like she likes this guy, period.
Well, it didn't seem that way. I think one of the things excuse me, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that in the past, you had arranged marriages, for example, okay, and people grew to love each other.
Or just put up with each other.
Okay.
They tolerated.
Exactly.
Well, I don't want to get there, but that's a noble aspect of themselves, where they tolerated. Might be the best person, but in this day and age,
that's a hard sell.
Yes, where people want gratification.
Me.
All right, it doesn't work in this
for
particular era.
Yeah.
All right, but the area where we're talking about people growing to love each other, all right, this is also a possibility, right? Which means you should have that as a goal, right? You should try to achieve that, and to be able to achieve that, it means communication. It means, for example, the other person being aware of what you want for the man to be aware of what she wants in him or in a man, for example. Assuming that he's physically appealing enough to her. You see what I'm saying, right? And to try to sort of reach that particular goal for her, you see, and working on things like that.
But what if he can't? It's not in your remit. It's just not in the guy's remit. Like, you're a really nice guy, but I'm not attracted to you in any way. I see you as my brother. Don't really know how to move forward. And if we have children, it's just going to make me resent you even more, because now I have an added pressure of, I'm in this for the long haul now. So how would you have that conversation?
That's why divorce is allowed, right? That's why divorce is allowed. Okay, you remember the issue between Zainab and Zayd. Okay, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam married the two of them. Zainab did not see Zayd as the person to get married to, right? And it's on this basis that they were divorced. Okay, so it is quite possible, for you to be married to somebody, and your soul doesn't take to them at all, right? At all. It's going to be something miserable. You don't have any kids yet, right? Okay? So in a case like that, right, it is good to have a conscious uncoupling right? An
I really
agreed
hate that
amicable
word.
divorce, right? And you move on with your lives.
But
Okay, if it's that fundamental, right? But I think it's worth a try anyway before you get there.
To
Okay?
be certain before you go
Yes,
down
to
that
tell
road.
this man, look, you know, for you to be, you know, upfront. Say, look, I mean, I don't find you appealing for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason.
A bit harsh, but
You see?
There's a lot of reasons, isn't it?
yeah, but it's still like they'd be nice about it, but just say.
But I mean, yeah, in a nice way.
Find the best way to say it, but you've
Right?
got to be congruent and
But
open.
on the flip side, don't expect that, you know, there's going to be 100 people waiting for you.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, no matter what age you are as females, you have this idea that, oh, it's okay, there'll be 50,000 other people. These people might be thinking, well, what happened? It's a short amount of time. You know, I'm sure people aren't going to keep quiet and just let you get on with your life, both sides. People want to know, well, what happened when people divorce? What happened? Was there fault on any side? Was there no fault? And it's a lot of the time, as I said before, it's a lot easier for a man to move on than it is for a female, especially in the Muslim community, and especially to remarry. And for girls, it's getting married for the second time is more risky than the first time, because if this one doesn't work out,
3 strikes and you're out.
well, let's hope it doesn't get there.
Sheikh, I wanted to ask you something because about we mentioned something interesting about people want to know. Okay, so you're a divorcee. What happened when people are courting or inquiring? Is there a clerk or is there certain rules of, you know, finding out about the person's past, or if they have to speak about their ex-wife or ex-husband? Because I've heard a riwayah, but it was from Sunni sources where somebody asks a brother about his ex-wife, and why didn't you? And he divorced, and she goes, "Well, she's not my wife anymore, so I can't tell you anything about her."
Well,
I can't
it's
really talk
privacy.
about her. Yeah.
You know, you cannot really be talking about anybody, about a third party.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of your negative views about a third party, for example. You know, it is bad akhlaq, right? Nevertheless, if you know of 2 people about to get married and one of you asks you a question about the other person and you have negative knowledge about them, right? Or you're aware of negativities about them. This is the only case, or one of the few cases in Islam, where it's not riba, it's not backbiting. You know, in fact, it's your duty to tell a person who is thinking about thinking about getting married to somebody else. It's your duty to tell them about your reservations about that person, you know, before they get into that marriage.
And I think, you know, maybe it's a good idea. It's going to be, you know, controversial that if the person is divorced and, you know, they've been divorced a couple of times and you know, they've been married to people in the community, ask their exes what happened.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was trying to ascertain. Is it ex in line to talk about the
I
ex?
think they have a right to say in a respectful way that, you know, this person has these tendencies, or we just simply weren't compatible, or we wanted different things at each time. But I think if there's a pattern, the person's been married 2 or 3 times, I want to know what the situation is. I mean, it might be just your psychology that you're someone who likes to bail as soon as there's a problem, or it could be just, you know, the type of people you've met are just not right for you at where you are in life.
I think we've had a question like that before, but a sister will say, for example, the sister knew that it was her ex-husband, he had been violent towards her, and she found out that somebody else he was making advances to somebody else. It doesn't mean because he's violent he should never be allowed to marry again, I guess, but at least
I think
a person who's going to marry him or thinking about him would suit her well to know this man has a history of violence, so you know what you're signing up for. I'm not saying don't marry him, but be aware that he could.
It's your duty to speak like that, to talk about a person in a negative sense. If you have reservations because of that negativity, that a marriage contemplated with that person might again be adversely affected. Yes, you have a right to say.
And what about people who, because nobody's perfect, who have negative traits? Don't they have a right to be married again?
They do, but I think knowledge is power. Not everybody can deal with certain temperaments or characteristics that the person has. There might be some people, I do believe Allah's created everyone in pairs, that can deal with that. But for somebody else,
soulmate.
Not even that, they have the maturity to deal with that situation, or they're willing to. Like for some people, you don't know what their trigger points is. You don't want to go to work, well, bye. Other people will be like, okay, fine, let's give you time, let's, work on this together. So, that person can deal with that situation better than the next person. But knowledge is power. You need to know what you're walking into. If you go into a store, you look at the clothes properly, you think about the occasion you're going to wear, the price. If you go into a uni, you go and visit the uni to see if you're the best fit. In a job, you interview them, they interview you to see if it's the best fit. The same should be for marriage, I think. Definitely. This is the biggest decision you're going to make in your life. There's no harm in taking your time and doing the research and getting yourself mentally bedded into the idea that you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life, and what are you willing to put up and not put up with on both sides.
Do you know you said it being a brother's market? Does that?
Oh God.
I'm just wondering if that lends to why polygamy seems to be on the rise. From some of the letters that we're getting, not necessarily every week, but we do get a lot of letters where polygamy, some way, shape, form, or fashion,
I don't think it
comes into the fray.
I think most of the time, if we're honest, when people are met, brothers are thinking of polygamy, they're not thinking about, I just want to heal the world, I just want to do right by Allah. They're thinking of their own interests and whatever their makeup is, They're not thinking about, let me be like, the Prophet, peace be with him, and like, let's all live in some commune and just, get along. They're not thinking about that.
Are you tarnishing brothers with the same brush?
I am tarnishing brothers with the same. I'm not saying all brothers do that.
The same with monogamy. Brothers don't think I'm going to marry X because I'm trying to save the world and all that. No, it's the same thing.
No, but most of the time, brothers are thinking, I've seen this person, there's something I like about them. They're completely gone with what they've seen, whatever it is, spirituality, intelligence, whatever. Let's not, sugarcoat this. When brothers are thinking about polygamy, they're not thinking, I think the sister would be really helpful to my wife, so when they go shopping, they could shop together so I don't have to drive them. Brothers are not thinking
Brothers are thinking Islamically?
The brothers are thinking of themselves, and this is what human beings do. And Alhamdulillah, Allah has given them. No, hold on. Allah has given them.
This is there to save the world.
When the brother comes to the sister's like, yeah, okay.
I can work with this, or I can't work with this. No, saving the world.
Thinking about, it's like having cake. You're in a cake shop, there's a selection. I can have one piece, but I could choose to have 2, 3, or 4. Okay. My GP says I can have it. I won't become diabetic. So I have 4 pieces of cake, thank you very much. So I think most of the time, brothers' headspaces are different to females. There are some brothers who just, as I said, they want to do the right thing and everything is awesome. But there are some brothers who have needs, and some of them are greedy, and some of them have mass problems.
Yeah. But look, we have this idea, this subject of sociobiology. Okay, sociobiology. Or psychobiology even.
Or evolutionary psychology.
Right? In the sense that, for example, what makes a man attracted to a woman? Okay? What makes a man attracted to a woman? And they boil it down to certain fundamental physical and psychological profiles.
Yep.
Right? And this makes a man attracted to, makes a woman attractive to a man. Okay? But what is this all about? It's for the preservation of the species.
That's evolutionary psychology.
Yes, that's evolutionary psychology.
Yeah.
All right? What makes a man attractive to a woman? Okay? For a man, the attractiveness of a woman is, for example, youth, right? Which means that she's capable of childbearing, right? Health, okay? And things like, being sane and so forth and so on. It's not a whole lot of complicated things. For women, it's more complicated. What makes a man attractive to a woman, okay, are things like, for example, maturity, responsibility, the ability to provide, commitment,
availability,
you know what I mean?
numbers, you know,
Right?
the prospect that there's 15
But
women
no,
to one man.
yeah, but okay. Now, in
possibly.
terms of availability, you would find that there would be more women who are flexible
Yes,
in
sir.
terms of polygamy
Yes,
with
sir.
a rich man, okay, than with a poor man.
And my argument
Mm-hmm.
with that, and we've completely gone off target, is what's wrong with that? If she is in her mind making a sacrifice, just like with marriage,
sacrifice.
yes, that just like with marriage, that they get a dowry. Why should they? Why shouldn't there be some principles or bravados as to, if you're going to do this, I want to be financially taken care of, because
No
or
problem.
I want
No
to
problem.
have,
No problem.
you know. So why would they accept that from somebody who can't even provide for one household, that is now thinking about two other people or one other person?
Now you have for the men as well, right? You have a sacrifice that they're making. Their sacrifice is their freedom, right? Especially in an environment
I
like
thought you
this.
said a nervous disposition because
It's their freedom.
You only got 2
So
years.
would you
You know.
repeat that?
It's their freedom.
Whose
okay?
freedom?
The man's
man's
freedom.
freedom.
He's tied down to two
Okay,
women now.
you know, because now, okay, this man becomes more sort of restricted in terms of his
Time.
his time,
Time
his,
for one thing.
his
Money.
ability to choose,
Sorry,
and
am
so
I not
forth
to
and
feel
so on.
sorry for these type of
I'm
brothers?
not.
Don't do that.
No, because
You
you're
know,
feeling-
if you can't handle
It's
it,
not
then
simple
don't
question,
do
it's
It's
just
it.
an
understanding. It's just
It's not a
understanding.
question of feeling sorry. What I'm saying is there are two different dynamics that are taking place. You know what I mean? And basically, if we look at both of them, it seems on the surface and also subjectively to be self-interested. It's about self-interest,
Exactly.
right? But at the same time, this self-interest translates into the fulfillment of a social need.
And
right?
the
Which is
species continuing.
Yes, the continuation of the species.
Oh, please. You're telling me brothers are sitting there, you know, watching National Geographic, really concerned about
No,
population.
unconscious drive. You're talking about
Conversely,
unconscious drive.
I'm not saying that at all. That's what is happening. What I'm saying is, subjectively, both of them think about their own self-interest, nothing more, right? However, objectively, what they are doing, even though they're not conscious of it, all right, is they are doing something that is beneficial to the society.
Oh, right. So the
continuation
beneficial
of the human
outweighs.
race.
So when the wife says, I'm leaving with Abdul Jafar, whatever his name is, because I'm not happy, you're going to say, well, I've made the right decision because I thought about the greater good of society. So I'm going to lose one, but
you never
you know,
think like this.
I've won one, but I'm going to lose one.
We'll have to have a show. I think we have to dedicate a show to this subject because this in itself is so intriguing. But we've run out of time, as we always do. But thank you so much, Sister Ruby, for your kind words, and Sheikh for your wisdom. And thank you all for staying with us for the duration of It Takes Two. And we hope to see you next week. But until then, remember to stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
If you have any questions or queries that you would like to send to ItTakes2, please email us at ittakes2@safirtv.com.